So Nintendo just released even more footage of new Super Luigi U in Japan, and we thought, you know what, let's analyze this too. So that's exactly what we're going to do as we try to uncover what secrets the game might still be hiding. Now being as this is round 4 for new Super Luigi U, please check out our previous analysis videos if you haven't already, as there's a lot we've covered before that we won't be talking about here. And with that, let's get started. Okay, so the new gameplay gives us an in-depth look at how the characters in new Super Luigi U will play differently from those in new Super Mario Bros. U. Now we've talked about this before. We already knew that they now jump higher and slide farther when coming to a stop, but it also reveals something else that we didn't know about before. And that is that the characters in new Super Luigi U will apparently run faster than before, as demonstrated in this head-to-head clip from the footage. Though even with the head-to-head, it can be tricky to see, but check this out. At this point, we can see that this blue flower in new Super Luigi U is almost perfectly lined up with a similar blue flower from new Super Mario Bros. U. Knowing that, let's see what happens when we start the clip and freeze it just before Luigi's flower goes off screen. Now if we draw that line again, we can see that Luigi's flower left Mario's in the dust, and we can see just how much farther ahead Luigi got than Mario did in just a few seconds. So yep, it seems all the characters will be slightly faster this time around. And that's far from the only new thing the footage reveals. Take this cave clip for example, which displays two new things. Although at first glance it may not seem very cave-like, and that's because the brick background here is all new. But if we look through the hole here, we can see that the standard cave background from new Super Mario Bros. U is just behind it. And secondly, there are these metallic moving blocks, which we can see are controlled by activating the switches here, which is another new gameplay mechanic. And we can actually see those same blocks appear in this underwater clip too. And speaking of new mechanics, did you notice the statues are actually sliding along the ground and ceiling here? Yep, that's new. Similarly, we can see a 6-piece rotating platform, which also wasn't in new Super Mario Bros. U. Beyond that, there's another interesting detail here, and that's that there are 2 fire chomps in this scene alone, which is double the amount in all of new Super Mario Bros. U, as it only appeared once in the entire game. So perhaps they might be more prominent here, like their appearance in Mario Bros. 3. And it seems these enemies will continue the trend that we pointed out before of having enemies appear in areas different from where they appeared in new Super Mario Bros. U, which in this case was the Peach's Castle region. Now there's one final detail here to point out that you may have already noticed. Did you spot the cloud in the background in the shape of Luigi's head? As you might recall from our previous analysis, it seems hiding Luigi in the background will be a running theme here. Sort of like the hidden Mickeys in Disneyland. Another example can be found in this clip, which was also in the previous trailer, where we can see a silhouette of Luigi in the hill. And then if we take a look at this thwomp scene, you might just spot something peculiar in the space left behind after the second one drops. Yep, it's an old school image of Super Luigi from the original Super Mario Bros. Game. Now in our previous analysis, we found a similar hidden image but of small Luigi, so it's good to see that the Super versions gained some love here too. But he seems to be outnumbered, as there's another small Luigi hidden in the latest round of footage. Did you catch it? If you freeze the clip right here, you can see him hanging out at the top of the screen. Now before we theorized you might be able to collect these retro images, but this one's clearly impossible to get to, at least as a normal character. But that doesn't rule out our other idea that it might be up to the gamepad player to collect them by tapping them on the touchscreen, again like the moon icons in new Super Mario Bros. U. Or there might just be a cool background detail like the Luigi cloud. And while we're on the topic of backgrounds, we can tell this level is actually a fortress one based on the style of windows in the background. And not only that, but the night sky visible through them matches up with that Frosted Glacier's castle in new Super Mario Bros. U, which means we're probably looking at new Super Luigi U's World 4 castle. And that's not the only background hiding additional information. Take this clip for example, which is very likely a ghost house type level as suggested by the Booze and Bonefish enemies. But does that background look familiar to you? It might, but it's easily forgotten since it only appears in a single instance in new Super Mario Bros. U, which is at the very end of the Haunted Shipwreck level of Sparkling Waters, which means we're probably looking at that level's replacement in new Super Luigi U. But beyond that, since we know every level starts with 100 seconds on the clock, we can also tell that the level actually begins outside the shipwreck, unlike new Super Mario Bros. U which started inside of it. So either the entire level now takes place outside, or more likely you start off outside the ship briefly before taking a warp pipe inside. In fact, if we freeze on the very last frame here, we can just barely see that exact warp pipe. Okay, we're almost done here, but come on, you know how we roll. There's still a few final details left. For one, we get our first actual confirmation that the more exotic power-ups will likely be back, such as the penguin suit here, which by the way, only appeared in World 9 in new Super Mario Bros. U. So we could be looking at a World 9 level here, or maybe they'll actually pop up earlier in the game now instead. And speaking of power-ups, if you freeze this clip at the very start, we can see a mini warp pipe, which confirms the mini mushroom will be back as well, as how else could Luigi fit inside? And if we take a look at that penguin scene again, we can see another new addition, a blue ring, which causes blue coins to appear. Next up we have this scene, which actually zooms out to reveal a ton of other scenes showcasing 25 of the 82 new levels. Although there's not a lot here that we don't already know, there are a couple of things to point out. Like the top left clip, which gives us our first actual look at a baby Yoshi in action, even though we already knew they'd be back. And if you take a look at the clip just left of center, we can see the Bowser Claw from Bowser Jr.'s airship being put to use, which means this is likely the replacement level for the final airship level in new Super Mario Bros. U, which appeared right before the final world. In fact, the new gameplay even gives us a look at the Bowser Jr. boss fight that should be at the end of that level. and it appears to be identical to that same boss fight from New Super Mario Bros. U, which fits with what we've seen of all the bosses so far. But there's still one more thing to note here, and that's the fact that there are actually more than 100 seconds on the timer, which should be impossible given that every level in New Super Luigi U starts with only 100 on the clock. So this likely means that, unlike New Super Mario Bros. U, you'll actually get additional time when you reach a boss, as there wouldn't be enough time if you only had what was left from the level itself. Now another clip of the trailer shows off a level featuring a distinct painting-like background, which means this is likely the replacement level for Painted Swampland in New Super Mario Bros. U, which shared the same art style. And speaking of the forest, check out this beanstalk clip, which also appears to be taking place in a forest. Now, as you might recall, this beanstalk also appeared in New Super Mario Bros. U, but only in a single level. And that beanstalk also appeared on the world map, serving as a shortcut once you completed the level. But because this clip takes place in the forest, this means it's unlikely to be the replacement for the beanstalk level in New Super Mario Bros. U, as that one took place in Sparkling Waters. Now, if we didn't know better, we would guess that this might mean a second beanstalk could appear elsewhere on the world map. But according to Iwata, the world map will be identical to before, so perhaps the beanstalk is just part of a level this time without having an overworld equivalent. However, the forest area in New Super Mario Bros. U does have its own beanstalk of sorts that actually grows after you find the secret exit in the ghost house. Could this scene actually be part of that ghost house, perhaps serving as the secret exit? It is unlikely because ghost houses rarely stray from their theme, but we thought we'd throw it out there. And with that, we're done covering everything we could dig up on New Super Luigi U. As usual, let us know if you missed anything by posting in the comments. If you enjoyed our analysis, please make sure to follow us on Facebook and Twitter at GameXplain for all the latest gaming news. There are even easy to click links in the description below. And of course, keep an eye on GameXplain.com for more analysis videos and other things gaming too.